Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to ZPE's second monthly Tech Talk Tuesday. For our channel partners, I'm Todd Atherton, Channel Sales Director for the West Region, and I'm joined with Mark Westberg, who is our Channel Sales Engineer, and we'll be doing the presentation and demo today. Our plan is to have a new technical session with a new topic on the second Tuesday of each month moving forward. The majority of you that are on this call that are joining today have attended a channel technical overview with Mark. But if not, please reach out through chat or just to one of us directly, and we'll be happy to get one of those scheduled for you guys. It's just a little bit of housekeeping. So Mark's presentation and demo will last approximately 30 minutes. We will answer any questions. All participants will be muted throughout. So if any questions do come about, please put them into the chat, or you can send them directly to me, and we can address those either during the demo if we have a chance, or we'll do it after. Later today, you will all receive an email with details about how you can receive your $20 DoorDash gift card just for attending today's webinar. So other than that, I will pass this over to Mark to get us started. Go ahead, Mark.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending our second webinar in the series. Today's topic is going to be ZPE Systems Cloud, the ability to manage the entire infrastructure from one place. What we'll learn today is a little bit about the cloud overview, some cloud settings, cloud enrollment, how to set up users and permissions and RBAC and then device configuration from the cloud, and a live demo. So I'm not a big person on PowerPoints. I think I have only like one slide. Just a little bit to go over the major benefits of the ZPE Cloud. From there, we'll go straight into a demo and answer some questions at the end. So the ZPE Cloud provides the ability to manage your entire network infrastructure, including servers, including server ILO, including anything that a Nodegrid device manages. We can manage those devices from the cloud. The ability to zero-touch provision through automation within the cloud eliminates the need for pre-configuring devices at your location as a partner and then sending them to the customer site and having them plug them in. Another advantage is automation of changes and software upgrades to the devices that a Nodegrid is hosting. So we can push the configuration down to, say, a Cisco switch or a Fortinet firewall or whatever the case might be. Central firmware updates for your Nodegrid devices. So you can say that you're managing 100 Nodegrid devices. You can do firmware updates to all of those devices at a single click of a button without having to log into each individual device central or manually. The certificates for the cloud transaction between the Nodegrid device and the ZPE Cloud instances are all stored in the local trusted platform module. So security is a first. TLS 1.3, everything for a cloud-based solution is included with the ZPE Cloud. From there, I believe that moves us into the demo. So let me escape out of here or stop. Let me stop sharing for just a second. One second, sorry for the delay. And let me start sharing again. There we go. So after a brief delay, the first page after login that you arrive on is sorry about that. The first page that we arrive on is the dashboard page, which is a world map of the devices that are within your cloud instance. So we can see that I have a couple of devices in my Minnesota lab, and then I have a couple of devices in a sandbox lab in our Fremont office. The neat thing here is if I go in and click on the Fremont office, we can see the geographic location. This is learned from the Nodegrid device through entering in the location on the system tab. Once we do that, we can enter the address that's converted to a latitude longitude, and then the ZPE Cloud picks that up and shows us where the devices are. So it's a pretty neat feature. If you had devices worldwide, you could see what is up, what is down by clicking into the devices and seeing both of these devices are green. If you had things in India or wherever and they were yellow or red, we can see what devices are actually connected. From there, there's two ways to get to the access tab, which gives us the ability to go in and manage devices. So from there, we can go in and either click on the device itself, or we can go up to the Access tab and see all of our devices. So in this case, I'm on the Access tab. I'm going to select my bold, the drop-down box. And as you can see, I have several devices that are hosted by this Nodegrid bold services router. So from there, we can do management of our entire infrastructure from the ZPE Cloud. In this case, I'm going to log in via remote desktop protocol to an Active Directory server. So what I'll do is I'll move my mouse up to KVM, and then I'll select that. And once you select it, all Nodegrid devices, once you try to connect to them, will require a login. So from there, we log in. The RDP session or remote desktop protocol session is proxied through the local device. So in this case, my bold, and it takes it a second to load. And once it loads, you can see my remote desktop session opens up. I happen to have Active Directory users and computers up and open, so we can go in and look at users, look at groups, whatever the case might be for management. We can do the same thing with ILO or a URL for a management page of a network infrastructure device, or even a web page within your organization's infrastructure. So moving on from there, that moves us from the Access tab. Let's move over to the Sites tab. And what the Sites tab gives us is the ability to logically organize devices within your ZPE Cloud instance. So that could be by device type, it could be by geolocation, it could be by patches or firmware that's on specific devices. It allows you to make sense of the organization's structure and apply software updates, apply configurations, apply zero-touch provisioning to subsets of your entire organization's devices that are hosted by the ZPE Cloud. So Sites gives us the ability to create a site and then add sites or devices into that site. So in this case, sorry for moving my mouse around so much, I'm just trying to use it as a pointer. We can see I have a site name of SE Lab and Sandbox Lab. So we can add devices to that. We can move them, remove them from one site to move them to another should the case be desired. From there, we can move on to the Groups tab, and this is where role-based access comes into play. So now, under Groups, we can add users to groups. We can also add devices to groups. So if we put a user in a specific group, we can give that device only rights where a group can only see and manage the managed devices or hosted devices that are behind that Nodegrid services router. And in this case, they may not be able to manage the ZPE Cloud. So the roles are by default our administrator, which has rights to all of the managed devices, all of the Nodegrid devices, and all of the management of the ZPE Cloud. Operator is only the ability to manage Nodegrid devices and the hosted devices that are attached to them. And then user basically gives read-only access. So you might, as maybe an MSP, you might give your customer user access rights so they can go in, look at their infrastructure, but not make any changes where you would have to go in maybe and fix it after they're done, whatever the case might be. From there, I'm going to click on the Devices tab, and we can see that we have 2 devices. The ZPE Sandbox, you can see that it's in 4 separate groups, so you can have multiple groups depending on the user login. So that kind of makes sense there. And then we can also see the users that are members of which groups. So the Devices tab is where we make changes to the Nodegrid devices in relation to how they interact with the cloud. The first thing that we want to do is select the Devices tab, and then we'll move over to the Available sub-tab. And what this does is gives us the ability to, once a device is registered, and registration can be by adding a key, which is provided by your sales team and ZPE operations, add by a claim ID, which is also provided by your sales team and ZPE operations, or we can also go to the Settings tab, and sorry for moving around to a different tab, and we can copy the customer code and the enrollment key, go to the System Toolkit, and then Cloud Enrollment, and enter this information into your Nodegrid services router, and it will then become licensed for your instance. One note, Nodegrid devices can only be a member of one ZPE Cloud instance. Otherwise, there could be devices that have different configs or multiple configs. So it can only have, one device can only be associated to one instance within the ZPE Cloud. Go back to Devices and Available. So we don't have any devices currently to enroll, but if you added a key or did the steps that I talked about previously, your device would show up here with the serial number and everything, and that it's checked in. From there, what we need to do is go select the device and then select Enroll. Once the device is enrolled, we can move it to a site and a group to get that subset of your organization's infrastructure. So maybe you only want to do, if you had 400 devices, maybe you only want to do software upgrades on 100 at a time in a change window. We can schedule that. So now, once the device is enrolled, we can go down and select the device and get more information on that device. How long it's been connected, the last job that was done on it, and I'll get to that under profiles in just a minute. The type of device, the serial number, the code that it's running. So any information that you as a network administrator, as a network architect, or as a CIO may need to understand what's going on with the device. We can also either select the expand all or the caret next to all of the selections below, and we can get information on the network connections. This one doesn't have a mobile a mobile card in it, I can switch to one that does. But then we can see the jobs that are run and the events. So we can see the device disconnected. I was doing some testing. So, and then a remote access has started also. One additional note on devices is under security and then under services, we need to ensure that in our Nodegrid device, you can see that I changed from the ZPE Cloud to my on-site Nodegrid device, that we need to enable cloud. And a key here is to enable remote access. This gives the ability for the cloud to allow you to log into the Nodegrid device and then remotely access either the Nodegrid device or the devices that are managed by it. So just wanted to give a quick note on that. Let's move over to the users tab. And this is where we set up users. So it's all done by an email invite that comes out of the ZPE Cloud. I wanted to talk a little bit about our newest feature, one of the great features that was added to the ZPE Cloud, which is multi-tenancy. This provides the ability for an administrator of another instance of the ZPE Cloud to be able to give access rights to a user that is already in the ZPE Cloud global database. So in my case, my mark.westberg at ZPE Systems is already a member of another organization's instance. So this gives the ability that I can switch between those instances. So how we would do that is we would go up to the double arrows in the upper, upper right-hand corner, and we would select that. A new drop-down box will come up, and these are the instances that we have access to. So I'm currently in the ZPE sandbox. I'm going to move down and select the ZPE sales engineers, and we will see a completely different page. So we can see the same information that we saw before, but now in this case, we have devices in India, we have devices in France, Ireland, all over the world, and you can see their status. So red is down, green is up and working as it should be. Yellow is in a partial state. Usually this means it's in failover. So the primary Ethernet connection or primary internet connection has gone down and it's failed over to its cellular. So that's usually what that means. So from there, we can go back to users and we can edit a user, lock, unlock. We can make them local if it's a part of SSO. Full SSO and MFA is supported, and we can reset their MFA token and then change login method is the ability to set up that MFA and single sign-on. So that was a little bit about users. Let's move on to the profiles tab. And this is where we have the ability to create sample scripts, to create packages that we want downloaded to the devices that are hosted by a Nodegrid device. So we can create a package that has software and the configuration of a, call it a Cisco router or whatever device is connected to a Nodegrid device. So in this case, I'm going to go into a file or a script that I created called PA deployment. And then I'm going to select the checkbox next to it and select edit. And this will give us the ability to go in and look at what the script is actually doing. In this case, it's creating a virtual machine from a Palo Alto virtual machine or a Palo Alto QCOW image. And then we check some destination paths, some source paths. The note here is that the VM QCOW image is hosted in the cloud and will be downloaded to the local file system of the Nodegrid. So you don't need to upload a ISO image or anything to your Nodegrid device. You can upload that one time to the cloud and then use that same image on multiple machines or whatever the case might be. A little bit about the scripting. We can apply the scripts on device enrollment. So once you enroll the device, it will go out and look and say, hey, this script needs to be run on device enrollment in a certain site. The script is run, and maybe it's the basic security settings for your organization or the customer's organization. Apply and reconnect events. So if the device doesn't have a cell card and it drops, it gets noticed that it is read for maybe a day as offline. Once the device reconnects, we can reapply a configuration to it, which gives us the ability, should something have happened to that device, we know that we have a good configuration on that device without having to question, was somebody in here? Why was it offline? Whatever the case might be. Dynamic templates give us the ability to use variables. So what would happen is you would activate the script on a specific device, and then a pop-up window will come up and say, what are the variables for host name, IP address, NTP server, whatever the case might be within your organization. Enter that information for site-specific information, and then that script would be pushed with those variables for a specific site in it, and the device would come up and be fully operational. We can password protect, and then custom command, I'll show that in just a minute. That gives us the ability, if you use a script a lot, that on the devices page, we can have a shortcut to that script. So I'll show that in just a minute. And then, so you can see that we also have the ability to manage software. So these are all the different versions of code that are available through the ZPE Cloud for the devices. We can look at the backups that have been taken. Those are done from the devices page. And then we can see the firmware. This is for the cellular modem. So we can update the cellular modem firmware directly from the cloud also. And then the operations tab gives us the ability to see all of the jobs that have been run on this instance of ZPE Cloud over, the last since the device was brought in, or since the instance was initiated. So you can see that there's several jobs that have been done. And then template, this is where we can go in and use system command line settings to do multiple jobs within the ZPE Cloud. So we could apply a date and time, change host name, set system preferences, whatever the case might be. This is usually done from the command line via copy and paste from a text file. We can put that text file up here and push that directly down to a Nodegrid device. So from there, I am going to go and give you a quick use case on a little bit of the templating. So what I have done is created a Palo Alto virtual install from the cloud down to one of my devices. So I'm going to go to mngate, and then we can go to select the checkbox, and under menu, you can see that these are multiple of those custom fields that were created that I was talking about just a second ago. And you can see deploy Palo Alto VM. So I can select that, and we can see down in the lower right that apply configuration has started. And then we can go in to the actual device and go to jobs and look and say, this one has started. It's got a copy of 3 gig file down, so I'm not going to actually wait for that. But what the script does is it copies the QCOW image from the cloud to the local device, and then starts to script and configure via a bash script, configure the number of CPUs, the amount of memory, where the image is located. From there, it starts up the install of the QCOW image for, in this case, a Palo Alto firewall, and then turns it on and creates a managed device for that VMware image. So from there, the tracking gives us the ability to see who is logged in and where they're coming from, and the ability to terminate those sessions. So I'm not going to do that to anybody. You cannot auto terminate yourself, which gives you the ability to make changes back should something go wrong. And then under logs, we can see what has happened within our specific device. So you can see that there was some, so this gives you the full ability for accounting and in some cases risk management, who has been in doing what to which devices and actually what was done, right? So that gives the ability to do full reporting on what happened within the infrastructure. And you can go in and see devices, ZPE Cloud event, somebody remote access started to this specific IP address. And then notifications, we can have notifications automatically sent to a specific user, or we can just have it as a as an indicator within the ZPE Cloud. Under notifications, you can see there's 20 plus, and you can see some of the things that have happened here. And then from there, settings basically gives us information about the company. You know, as I talked about before, device enrollment, the company, the actual account, who's the head of it, and what is that email address. That may become important to add more users. This is where we can set up single sign-on, notification, as I was talking about before. We can enter or check the boxes for these and get notified if these events happen. We can see the subscription, what's been added, and then we can also do diagnostic logs on the device. So that concludes a quick demonstration of the ZPE Cloud. If you would like more information on the ZPE Cloud, please contact Todd or I, and we can get you that information.
Thanks, Mark. I just want to remind everybody, if there are any questions, please put them into the chat or the Q&A. We do have a couple that came in, so I want to get those answered before we shut down everything. The first one is, how many Nodegrid devices can I manage from the cloud?
That is, it's unlimited. So you can manage any amount of ZPE devices, which then allow you to manage the devices that they're hosting in an unlimited number. It's been, I believe that the cloud has been tested to over 1,500 devices, but there's no limitation in the cloud as to the number of devices that can be managed.
Great. And there's a couple questions that were similar, but this is kind of the gist. Can I upgrade other network devices from the Nodegrid cloud?
You sure can. What it would be is creating a script, right? A profile script that put the software image for, say, a Cisco router in the ZPE data lake or in the ZPE extended storage, and then write a script to call that, FTP it to the Cisco switcher router or whatever the device is, and then issue the command once that has been moved to the local system, then a quick script to basically reboot with the boot parameters, change the boot parameters, and then reboot the device, and it would come up on the new code. So yes, that can be done. And configurations of managed devices can also be pushed down via the cloud. So if you have a brand new Cisco router, you could have a configuration, even variabilized for site-specific information, and then push that configuration down to the network device or Cisco router, or you could even do an install of a Windows machine on a server or on a ZPE Nodegrid device. Sorry for the long answer. I just get
No
going.
worries, that's great. And I have just one last question, and then we'll cut this out. So, can I see what users are actually doing via tracking?
You can see what they have done. You can't see them real time as far as what they're doing. You can't get a screenshot of what they've done or what they're currently doing. It's all historical data.
Awesome. And can you jump to the last slide real quick, and we'll finish this up?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Oh, sorry.
like Mark mentioned before, if any of you want to do more training in depth on this topic, on any topic, any technical topic, there's Mark and my contact information. We're happy to do that for you. But I want to thank Mark for taking the time today to do this. I want to thank everybody for joining today's Tech Talk Tuesday. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be doing these on the second Tuesday of each month with a new topic that the next demo will be on November 14th. And Mark will be discussing an overview on cellular and ZPE. For all of you that attended today, you will be receiving an email. Like I mentioned earlier, there will be a questionnaire in that email, and with details on how you can get your $20 DoorDash gift card. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time, and thank you so much for joining Tech Talk Tuesday with ZPE. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.